Hi everyone, I wanted to visit with you all about grief and loss today. We all, as human beings, have to go through grief and loss and mourning in our lives because we all live and we all die. When I say we all die, so humans die, we have our pets who die, we also have relationships that end, and so we all grieve over different things throughout our lives. We also all heal over different things throughout our lives. But as humans, a lot of times humans will go through the same 4 tasks of mourning, and it's been researched and documented, and so I'm going to talk about the 4 tasks of mourning from someone named Warden. So it's Warden's 4 tasks of mourning is what we're going to be talking about. So the first task of mourning is to accept the reality of the loss. So a lot of times when we lose someone, let's say someone dies or a relationship is ended, you have to accept the reality they lost. Did that just happen? Are they really not here anymore? Or are we really not together? I can't believe that just happened. So it's difficult to accept the reality of loss at the beginning. Sometimes it's too hard to at the beginning, and that's why we might question it. Like, did that just happen? So something that's helpful in accepting the reality of loss is getting to say goodbye. So sometimes we're not able to say goodbye. Sometimes, due to the circumstances, there isn't a way to say goodbye. So if that's the case, we sometimes can find ways to say goodbye, like maybe texting that person or writing a letter or sending a message into a balloon or talking with friends and saying goodbye through stories, that type of thing. So that's a helpful way for some people to do that first task. The second task is the hardest task, and that's to process the pain of the grief. In order to heal, which you will, you have to feel the pain, which is awful. But in order to heal, which you will, you have to feel that pain. You have to go through that pain. And people go through the pain in different ways. They go through it physically by like headaches and stomach aches. They go through that pain emotionally with anger, guilt, shame, anxiety, fear of losing someone else. Sometimes they go through that pain cognitively with their mind, like having difficulty concentrating or not remembering things. And sometimes they go through that pain with their behavior. So maybe they'll withdraw from activities, they'll cry, they'll have difficulty sleeping. Maybe they'll be more aggressive with friends than they have been in the past. Those are ways that they're showing their pain. What we can do to help throughout this pain, what we can do is we can do a lot of those mental health minutes that I've been going into classes and doing, and sometimes those can help you through the pain. It doesn't make the pain go away, but it does maybe help get through that pain, which you will get through that pain. So that's the task number 2, is process the pain of the grief. The task number 3 is to adjust to the world without the deceased. Just figuring out, well, you used to do this with this person and now this person is no longer here to do this with. So your life has changed and it's hard. So adjusting to that change is hard. And sometimes you might adjust 1 week and think, okay, I've adjusted. But then 3 weeks later, you're having to adjust again. So sometimes you have to adjust and adjust and adjust to the world without that person or without that relationship or without that pet. And then finally, task number 4 is to find an enduring connection with the deceased while embarking on a new life. So just knowing that that person will always be in your heart, you'll always have those memories of that person, and how can you construct meaning from the relationship that you had with that person? How can you keep that in the future? So for instance, when my dad passed away and he was one of my very best friends and just to support all of my life, I feel like I find the enduring connection with my dad by trying to, in some of the ways that I parent, remembering his words or remembering his love, and sharing that with my children so that, I'm carrying that forward. So that's what Number 4 is to find an enduring connection with the deceased while embarking on a new life. So these are the 4 tasks of mourning. This looks really neat and nice, and of course it doesn't work that way. It's actually quite messy and jumbled. You might have to accept the reality of loss and then start processing your grief, and then 2 weeks later you're accepting the reality of your loss again. Like, did that really happen? That's very normal. Or you might have already processed your grief and you're adjusting to the world, but then all of a sudden you have a really rough day and you're processing the grief again. So that's very normal, that it doesn't go just in a really nice, I've done this, and this, and now I'm done. I wish it did, and we could all be done with it, but that's just kind of how it works. My hope in sharing that with you is that you might see, okay, what I'm going through is normal. My hope in sharing that with you is that you know, as human beings, we go through grief. Grief is awful, and we heal from grief. We heal from grief with the love of those around us. We heal from grief by getting help sometimes. We heal from grief by using our positive coping mechanisms that we have, that's the main message that I wanted to give. You will heal. You will heal. So hopefully this was helpful, and of course know that there are lots of adults around who love you and who would be happy to talk more about grief, loss, and mourning with you, and how you will heal and how to heal. So take care of yourselves.